Am I the idiot for telling my drunk father to get his act together at my sister's birthday party? I don't even know where to start because this just happened, but I guess I'll just give some background. My dad, in his early 50s, is a great man and father. I can't stress enough how much I love him. He is funny and generous and one of my favorite people. My sense of humor and taste in music are entirely thanks to him. But he's becoming someone I don't recognize anymore. My dad's always been a bit of a drinker, and for my whole life, he only ever drank on Saturdays and holidays. I never thought he was that bad, but in the last few years, I've really noticed how much my mother, in her late 40s, shielded my younger sister, who is 20, and me from how much he was really drinking and how obnoxious he would become once drunk. Tonight, the four of us went to a concert we've all been looking forward to for a long time. Prior to leaving, my father was being kind of difficult, and I realized he was already tipsy when we got into a small argument over him taking something I was using and holding it just out of reach while pretending he was going to drop it. But since we had a designated driver, my mom, I was also having a drink, so I decided to just let it go for the sake of the concert. When we got there, he got so much worse. He kept slipping away when we were distracted, and it felt like he had a fresh beer every time he reappeared. He got sloppy drunk, like having a difficult time staying upright, nearly knocking people down as he danced and stumbled around, barely coherent drunk. My mom, sister, and I were so upset and embarrassed because he was attracting a lot of attention. At one point, he bumped hard into my sister. Whether on purpose or not, we're not sure. None of us are talking to him right now, but I wouldn't put it past him, which knocked her drink over, soaking her clothes and making her cry. Honestly, I think she was more crying because of the state he was in, and I don't blame her. I did the same thing shortly after. He did so much more than this, but honestly, I'm just so exhausted and confused, I can't even get it all down. We all wanted to leave after an hour of begging him to please put the beer down, please sit down, or at least stay by us. But it took forever for us to actually decide to leave for two reasons. One, we were afraid he would get angry and belligerent because he was just so intoxicated. And two, because in the 1 second we took our eyes off him to make a game plan, he disappeared for real. It took us an hour to find him, and by then we were all just completely done and disgusted with his behavior. The drive home was awkward and mostly quiet, and no one talked to him once we got back. He pretty much went straight to bed. So now that leaves me here, the last one awake and completely heartbroken, and for the first time in my life, ashamed of my father. I'm somewhere between angry that he ruined something we were looking forward to for so long, and lost because I just want my dad the way I remember him when I was a little girl. I'm worried about his health. If anyone has any advice on next steps, or even just how to handle the next 24 hours when I can't even look at him, it would be really helpful. How do I bring this up to him? How do I tell him that his drinking is starting to scare me when he just won't listen? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. If he won't listen when you try to talk to him and immediately becomes defensive, it's already a problem. It's an addiction. I also grew up with a functioning alcoholic father and didn't know it until I was in my late teens. My dad always traveled for work. He would be away from home for a week or two at a time and not drink at all during that period. But then when he came home, he would get drunk. I mostly remember just having to be quiet a lot when my dad was home because he was tired from traveling or jet lagged, when in reality he was drunk or hungover, and my mom didn't want us to set him off. He's gotten pretty bad a few times, but not until I was older. I think in his mind he thought it was okay because I was an adult at that point. It's still hard to see your parent like that, no matter your age or knowing the cause. Comment 2. I am so sorry. This happened in my family when I was a little girl. I remember running away and not going to school because I thought everyone would know. Awful, embarrassing, and heartbreaking. There was a pitcher with the Red Sox, Dennis Eckersley. Apparently, he was quite a drinker back in the day. One day, his children had enough. They videotaped him during one of his episodes. They let him know when he sobered up and showed him the video. He found help and stopped. Look it up, it is quite the story. I would suggest you do the same. Show him the tape, then let him know you love him, but this is too much for all of you. Hopefully, you are able to touch the real him inside. I hope he is able to heal from whatever is bothering him. I also hope you and your family are able to heal as well. Good luck. Now, for the update, 2 weeks after the concert, it was time for my sister Kate's birthday. Since my parents live about a 2-hour drive away, I left early in the morning to spend some time with my brother Jake and his wife Rachel before the party. The vibe was just off. I mean, it felt like we were all walking on eggshells. We didn't bring up our dad or the concert, but we all knew it was there, hanging over us like a dark cloud. We arrived at my parents' house, and my mom greeted us at the door with a big smile. It was fake as hell, but we appreciated the effort. She was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you guys could make it," even though we all knew we had to be there for Kate. She then took us inside, where we found Kate bouncing off the walls. She was so excited for her party, and we were all trying to keep that energy alive despite the elephant in the room. My dad showed up late, of course. He walked in smelling like a brewery and claimed he had just come from work. Yeah, right. He brought this huge cake and some gifts, trying so hard to be the fun dad. During the gift opening, he stumbled while handing Kate a present and almost knocked over the table. My mom shot him a look that could unalive, but he just laughed it off and said he was just excited. At that moment, we all exchanged worried glances. Rachel looked like she was about to cry, and Jake's jaw was clenched so tight, I thought he was going to break a tooth. Dinner was just as awkward. My dad poured himself a big glass of wine and kept refilling it while everyone else had just one. He started making jokes that didn't land, and the room fell silent a few times. At one point, he asked Kate if she wanted to try some wine, and my mom quickly jumped in, saying she was too young. My dad insisted he was just joking, but it felt so off. The tension in the room was thicker than the frosting on the cake. After dinner, we moved to the living room for cake and ice cream. My dad got up to grab another drink, and I decided to follow him to see how much he was really drinking. I found him in the kitchen, struggling to open a bottle of whiskey. When he saw me, he put the bottle behind his back and laughed, saying he was just making a toast. I was like, "Dad, we should focus on Kate's birthday," and he rolled his eyes, saying it was just a little fun. Yeah, right. Back in the living room, he started telling embarrassing stories about me and Jake from our childhood. My mom tried to steer the conversation, but he just kept interrupting her. Finally, Jake had enough and asked him to let someone else talk. My dad snapped back, saying he was just trying to lighten the mood. At that point, the mood had soured so much that you could taste it. My mom shot him another warning glance, and I could see she was about to lose it. After cake, my dad suggested we play a family game. Everyone hesitated, but we agreed. During the game, he got so competitive and started shouting at the TV when someone made a mistake. It was like he was a different person. After the game, my mom had had enough and pulled him aside for a private conversation. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but it looked serious. When they returned, my dad was quiet, and my mom looked like she was about to explode. The night ended, with everyone saying their goodbyes. Jake was uneasy and made some excuse about needing to get to work early the next morning. On the way home, I overheard my mom on the phone, sounding really worried and mentioning something about my dad's drinking. That hit me hard. I didn't want to believe he was that far gone. A few days later, I found an empty whiskey bottle in the recycling bin when I was taking out the trash. Yeah, it was a low point. That weekend, Jake and Rachel invited us over for dinner, and my dad came along. At dinner, he was unusually quiet. The tension was just palpable. Rachel mentioned something about a family trip, and he abruptly changed the subject. He avoided any plans like the plague, and it made me wonder what was going on. After dinner, I saw him step outside to make a call, and I caught a glimpse of him looking so stressed. He was just a shell of himself. Later, I learned from Jake that my dad had been skipping work and was facing some issues at his job. It was like everything in his life was falling apart, and there was nothing we could do to stop it. I feel like we're all just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I don't know how much more we can take. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for wanting to kick my husband to the curb after he played innocent with his coworker? A year ago this week, I, a 37-year-old woman, was diagnosed with leukemia. It's been a really horrible year for all of us. I've had a grueling chemotherapy regimen and spent many months in the hospital very poorly in protective isolation. I got sepsis, and it's just been very scary. I've been home for 5 months in remission and recovering. I have been so grateful for my husband of 11 years, who is 36 years old. He has looked after our children, home, and animals so well in my absence. Tonight, I received a text message from an unknown number telling me my husband is sleeping with a woman he works with called Claire. From the nickname used in the message, I know it is someone who knows him at work, as that is the only place he goes by this name. A few months ago, I was very paranoid about his relationship with Claire, as the way he was talking about her was odd. It was so similar to how he spoke when he was cheating 2 years into our marriage. I asked him. He said absolutely nothing was happening, and we moved on. After receiving the message and asking him about it tonight, he has admitted that he has been flirting over messages and in person with Claire, but realized he was crossing a line and put a stop to it about a month ago. I am recovering. I have to prioritize my children, and I don't think I can do it on my own. It would be difficult, but I know if I was well, I could be alone just fine. But I'm poorly and recovering, and I just don't think I can do it. I'm so tired. For context, he cheated on me 2 years into our relationship. He left me for a few months and continued a relationship with a girl he worked with named Katie. He kept it hidden from me even after he left. When I found out and he knew it, he begged for me to take him back. We went to marriage counseling, and it's not been easy, but we have, or so I thought, worked through it. I am heartbroken and do not know what to do. I know I absolutely do not deserve this. I fear this is just the person he is. I didn't choose a loyal one. I guess sometimes good people do bad things, but how do you react? What do I do? Now for an update. Thank you for all the kind comments. Well, it's been a horrid few days of processing and trying to get some idea of what has been going on. My husband admitted that he was not honest. It didn't end a month or so ago. It ended the very night I received the anonymous text message. My husband is absolutely adamant that it wouldn't have gone anywhere. It was harmless. I pointed out that if it was harmless and not an issue, he wouldn't have worked so hard at hiding it from me. He has cried and begged for me to not leave him. I'm not able to process this at the moment. I'm just so sad and tired. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. He's an unkind person, and you deserve better. He may be a good father, but he's not a loyal man, and he absolutely does not respect you. The fact that you stayed with him even after he left to date another woman behind your back is unbelievable. Consult a lawyer. Your children and your health are your priority, not some man-child who can't control himself. Is there any family nearby with whom you can stay for a while? You need to get out of this negative environment. Comment 2. When you stay with a cheater, you tell them you are okay with being cheated on. Find an attorney and get a divorce. He'll still be able to look after the children, and you'll have a massive source of stress lifted. Please check out the Chump Lady website. Now, for the update. A couple of days after my last post, I was chilling at home with the kids when I got a text from my husband. He said he had to work late and wouldn't be home for dinner. Super random and not his style at all. So, me being me, I decided to check his work schedule. Guess what? He wasn't even scheduled to work late that night. I get to his office, and his car is parked outside, but he's not there. Then I see Claire, the coworker or whatever, leaving the building with this small box, looking all sketchy and nervous. What's in the box? Office supplies? I doubt it. I walk up to her and she jumps, dropping the box and spilling its contents everywhere. Surprise, surprise, it's just office supplies. She quickly picks them up and says she was just working late on a project. Yeah, right. I asked her where my husband was, and she stammers out some lame excuse about him being in a meeting. I can tell she's lying. So I decide to wait in the parking lot like a detective or something for my husband to leave work. It feels like forever, but he finally walks out, looking all surprised to see me. You didn't think your wife would come to check on you when you said you were working late? Whatever. He greets me with this forced smile, and I'm like, why did you lie about working late? He fidgets and tries to say he lost track of time finishing up a project. I ask him about Claire, and he brushes it off like she's just a coworker. Yeah, right. We need to talk at home, I tell him, and he reluctantly agrees. At home, the kids are already in bed, and I confront him about the flirting. He insists it's just harmless fun. Then, while we're in the living room, I accidentally find this receipt for a dinner for two at a fancy restaurant, the kind we used to go to when we were dating. I show it to him, and he looks all guilty. He says it was a work dinner, but I'm not buying it. The argument escalates, and he has the nerve to accuse me of being paranoid. So he tries to prove his innocence by showing me his phone. But guess what? All his texts with Claire are deleted. I call him out on it, and he gets all defensive, saying he deleted them to avoid me worrying. Like, how about you don't flirt with your coworkers and I won't worry? The next day, I'm just chilling, and I get a call from my husband's sister. She tells me she saw him out with Claire at a local bar. She thought they were just friends, but noticed them acting all close. My husband comes home later that night, and I confront him about the bar outing. He admits he went, but claims it was just a group outing with coworkers. Insists nothing happened. Yeah, right. She says she can't trust him anymore and wants a separation. He pleads with her to reconsider, but she feels resolute in her decision. A week later, I get this message from Claire, apologizing for everything. She claims she had no idea about my illness and didn't mean to cause harm. By the end of the week, my husband moves in with his sister while I handle everything at home. Edit. Sometime after the last update, I received a call from my husband's sister, asking about the situation. I explained everything, and she admitted to seeing my husband and Claire at a local bar. She thought it was just a friendly gathering, but noticed them being overly close. Now for the next story. I'm a 30-year-old woman, married to Daniel, a 32-year-old man. We've been together for 10 years and have moved all over the country because of Daniel's military career. Daniel left the military this year, and we bought a house in July. We are located in Arizona. Most of Daniel's family lives in Texas, but Daniel's sister Rebecca, who is 30 years old, just moved to California with her husband Josh, who is 33 years old. Since Rebecca and Josh are super close to us now, and we all get along really well, we invited them over for the holidays with their newborn. So far, we know they are coming over for Thanksgiving this year, possibly Christmas as well. Some information. Daniel, my husband, has a sister named Rebecca, who I've already mentioned, and a brother named Nathan. Nathan is married to Rachel, and they have 2 boys. Daniel's parents are also in the picture, Cindy and Robert. I don't know their ages, I'm sorry. I do not get along with Rachel or Nathan, my husband's brother and sister-in-law. Long story short, I went to one of my nephew's birthday parties, and it was outside in Rachel and Nathan's front yard. A neighbor's dog came up to all of the kids, wagging its tail and wanting to play. A very friendly dog. Everyone was petting this dog, myself included. Rachel walked out of the house, saw the dog playing with her kids, hit it multiple times in the face, and yelled for it to get out of her yard. I am an animal lover, and I lost my composure. I told my husband I needed to leave before I did something I would regret. Rachel said I caused a scene. Nathan didn't seem to think his wife hitting a dog for no reason was a problem. Rachel went to every single family member of my husband's and claimed I called her an evil name, which I didn't. I have heard from other people that Rachel has been cruel to other dogs. So yeah, ever since that day, I have refused to interact with Rachel, which is why I don't like those two. So we invited Rebecca and Josh over. Rebecca tells Cindy, my husband's mom, that they are coming over to our house for Thanksgiving. So Cindy says that she and Robert, my husband's dad, are coming over too, without asking me or my husband if that's okay. Fine, my husband misses his parents, we'll make it work. But then Rebecca informs me today that Rachel and Nathan have invited themselves over to our house as well, along with their 2 boys. First off, we just moved into this house, and we aren't ready to host so many people. We can deal with my husband's parents, but we can't handle 4 other people right now. Apparently, Rachel and Nathan have told our 2 nephews that seeing Uncle Daniel is their Christmas present this year, and they are super excited. I'm furious. I know my husband wants to see his family. He misses his nephews and brother, And I think Rachel took advantage of that and invited herself over, knowing I don't want her here. She has told her 2 children that Uncle Daniel wants to see them, and this is their Christmas present. And she has also claimed that we have to let them stay at our house because they cannot afford a hotel room. Not one person has asked if it was okay to stay here. No one has called my husband or me about this. If they all show up on Thanksgiving Day, I'm worried about the safety of my 2 dogs. If Rachel starts anything with me, I will defend myself. If she hits one of my dogs, I will do things to her that I cannot say on Reddit. My husband should be able to see his family during the holidays, and I don't want to be the one to tell him no, but I don't want Rachel here. Everyone but her would be fine. I don't know what to do. This was going to be a fun, small get-together that has turned into a nightmare. Please, I need advice on what to do. Now for an update, please don't upvote this post too much. I don't want to cause even more issues by someone in my husband's family seeing this post. A lot of you are saying my husband needs to take care of this. He will. He wants me to decide what I want to do, and we will go from there. I came up with a few solutions on my own, but I wanted to see if Reddit had any better ideas. I thought about putting a deadbolt lock on our master bedroom door and keeping our dogs in there away from the guests. I would go in there periodically to keep them company while my husband spends time with his family. A few people suggested I get a hotel room. I could, but if we were going down that route, I think I would just get a hotel room for Nathan and Rachel and tell them they have to stay there. I personally don't want to do that. We're going to be spending a lot of money on food for everyone, but it is technically a solution. To make things clear, my husband doesn't like Rachel either. I don't think anyone does. They all kind of just put up with her because she's married to Nathan. My husband told a joke one time around Rachel that wasn't even directed at her, and she pinched him so hard that his arm bruised. From my understanding, Nathan threatened to divorce Rachel over her being too harsh to their kids. I don't know what she did, and she's been going to therapy on and off to improve. Something about childhood abuse, I don't know. I kind of don't care. I was abused as a child and I don't hit dogs or kids, but whatever. Basically, Daniel's family is telling me Rachel is trying to be better and I think she's medicated now. I just don't know if I fully believe that. So right now the options are: 1. Tell them no. Only Rebecca and Josh were invited. Hurt my mother-in-law and father-in-law's feelings. Hurt my nephew's feelings. 2. Rebecca, Josh, and Daniel's parents are invited. Nathan, Rachel, and the boys are not. That one will most likely cause conflict. I also feel like that option is a little cruel since the boys won't understand. 3. Call my husband's parents and ask if Rachel is actually going to therapy and taking her medication. Have my husband call Nathan and ask the same questions. If everyone promises she's trying to be better, I might be open to it, only because of my nephews. Any relationship she and I could have had was burned years ago. Maybe there is another option I haven't thought of yet. I don't know. As long as this post doesn't get too popular, I'll keep you guys updated. I really just made this post because I want a mostly peaceful solution. I had to go no contact with my immediate family, and I don't want my husband to have to experience something similar with his brother. That may not be possible anymore. Only time will tell. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. This is a husband problem. He should be handling his family. The overstepping is insane. That said, I think it's weird that you'd plan to host a holiday and not invite the whole family. I'd tell my husband to inform the party of 4 that you don't have space to host, so they'll need to find an Airbnb. And I'd board the dogs or keep them crated for their own safety. I too would do things we shall not post publicly if someone hit one of my dogs. Comment 2. Your husband needs to get on the family group chat or email. There seems to be some confusion about the plans for Thanksgiving. We invited Rebecca and Josh for a small gathering. We're now hearing that the rest of you took that as an open invitation. It was not. We aren't able to host everyone and certainly aren't able to put everyone up at our place. Or something like that. Say it in the open. Now for the update. Here's the update, guys. It's been 5 days since the original post, and Thanksgiving chaos is almost here. I'm still a little shocked that I'm actually going through with this, but I did. I decided to host everyone, including Rachel and Nathan, at my house. I know, what was I thinking? I guess I was just trying to be optimistic and create a nice family atmosphere. But at the same time, I can't lie. Part of me was scared of the fallout if I didn't let them come. Daniel once again reassured me that Rachel would behave herself during Thanksgiving. I don't know how he was so confident, but he said that she wouldn't want to ruin the holiday with their parents around. So I went along with it. The past few days have been a blur of cleaning and preparing the house for all the guests. I wanted everything to be perfect, so I spent way too much time making sure every corner was spotless. I even set up a special area for my dogs to keep them safe and out of reach from the kids. I was really worried about the kids and their love for the dogs. Not so much love, but more like their curiosity, if you know what I mean. I wanted my dogs to be comfortable and not stressed out by all the noise and chaos. The day before Thanksgiving, Rebecca sent me a message asking if I could contribute something to the potluck. She suggested I make my famous mashed potatoes, which I was actually really happy about. I agreed, hoping that it would help create a positive atmosphere and show Rachel that I was on board with the family fun. Thanksgiving morning arrived and the whole house smelled like turkey. It was so comforting. I was in the kitchen finishing up my potatoes when Rachel and Nathan arrived first, along with their 2 kids. I took a deep breath and greeted them at the door. Rachel immediately commented on how cute my house was, but I could tell by her tone that it was more of a backhanded compliment. I just smiled and said thanks. Cindy and Robert, Daniel's parents, showed up shortly after, bringing a ton of desserts. The kids ran into the living room, creating chaos with all the toys and noise. I was trying to keep my sanity when I noticed that Rachel's kids were running towards the dog area. I quickly intervened and reminded the kids to stay away from the dogs. Rachel rolled her eyes and said that the dogs needed to toughen up. Oh, really? Toughen up? I just smiled and said that they were just a little skittish. This was already shaping up to be a blast. Things got even more interesting when I caught Rachel giving her kids snacks from the table without asking. I was so annoyed. Daniel saw the look on my face and helped diffuse the situation by saying that Rachel was just trying to be nice. The atmosphere felt really strained after that. Dinner was served and everyone gathered around the table. I tried to keep the conversation light, but Rachel kept bringing up old family stories. I knew where this was going. Then she mentioned the incident with the dog from the family party, and there was an awkward silence. I kept my composure and quickly changed the subject to the turkey. After dinner, Rachel's kids started playing rough in the living room and almost knocked over one of the tables. I had to step in and redirect them, but Rachel was like, "Oh, they're just having fun." Yeah, fun at my expense. Later that night, while I was cleaning up, I overheard Rachel talking to someone about her recent social media posts. She was bragging about her lifestyle and how she was the fun aunt to everyone. It made me so sick. The evening progressed, and my dogs were getting really anxious from all the noise. I decided to put them in a separate room to avoid any incidents. I just wanted to make it through the holiday without any drama, you know? After everyone left, I found a chewed-up toy that belonged to one of my dogs in the living room. Guess who I thought was responsible? Yup, Rachel's kids had been in the dog area unsupervised, and I was really not happy about it. I texted Daniel about it, and he promised to address it with Rachel. He said that he was really disappointed in her behavior, and I could tell he was genuinely upset. The next day, I came up with a plan for a family gathering in a month to discuss family values. I wanted to address the issues directly and hold everyone accountable, especially Rachel. She needed to know that her behavior was not okay and that it wouldn't be tolerated. I sent out the invitations, making sure that Rachel received one. I wanted to make it clear that this was for everyone, and they all needed to be there. The day of the gathering arrived, and I was a little nervous, but also excited to finally address everything. Rachel walked in with that smug attitude of hers, as usual. I stood up, thanked everyone for coming, and stated that we needed to talk about boundaries. I revealed the toy incident from Thanksgiving, and everyone was caught off guard. Rachel tried to defend her behavior, but Daniel backed me up, saying that this wasn't just about me. It was about the entire family respecting each other and our homes. The gathering ended with Rachel storming out, and honestly, I didn't feel bad about it. The family is now more aware of the need for respect, and Rachel's behavior has been put on notice. It's a step in the right direction, and I think it's what we all needed. Edit. The aftermath of the family gathering has been interesting. Rachel hasn't reached out to us yet, which is surprising. I expected at least a call or text from her. Daniel says that Rachel knows she messed up and is embarrassed. I've received a lot of support from the family regarding the gathering. They all agree that it was necessary. We're planning a barbecue soon, and Rachel's family has been invited. I'm considering giving her a second chance, but I'm cautious.